A small team of modders managed to rebuild this entire game inside the GTA 4 engine, creating a project known as Vice City Nextgen Edition. And I honestly believe this is much closer to what a true definitive edition should have looked like. This Nextgen Edition mod is a fan-made total conversion created by Revolution team for GTA 4 game, which rebuilds the original Vice City inside the Rage engine. What makes the project especially impressive is that it still preserves almost everything that made the original Vice City so nostalgic and colorful. The developers did not simply import the map and allow players to drive around it, because the entire storyline can actually be played from beginning to end, with fully recreated missions, working cutscenes, and an experience that feels like a finished game rather than an unfinished technical demo. What impressed me most was how naturally the original atmosphere survived the transition into a much darker and heavier engine. The colorful beaches, palm trees, glowing sunsets, neon signs, and unmistakable 1980s Miami style are still here, but they now benefit from more advanced lighting, reflections, weather effects, and a far greater level of detail. During the day, the city feels bright, warm, and full of color, while at night, areas like Ocean Beach come alive with illuminated hotels, streetlights, and neon reflections that look absolutely beautiful. The changing weather also adds much more variety, allowing the same streets to shift from clear tropical sunshine to cloudy skies, heavy rain, without ever losing the identity of the original game. Even in locations I had visited hundreds of times before, I still felt like I was returning to the same retro city I remembered, only now it looked more detailed, more alive, and surprisingly natural inside the new engine. But let me know in the comments whether you think Next Gen Edition successfully preserves the atmosphere of the original game. One feature that almost every longtime player will immediately want to test is the water, because Tommy could not swim in the original game, right? Here, Tommy can enter the ocean and swim freely, just like Nico, which feels almost unnatural after so many years of associating deep water with instant death. But allowing Tommy to swim created an obvious problem, because the second island is still supposed to remain inaccessible at the beginning of the story, while the blocked bridges can now be avoided simply by entering the water. So, instead of stopping the player with an invisible wall, the modders created a much more memorable solution. Because once Tommy swims too close to the restricted part of the map, a shark suddenly appears, approaches him, bites him, spins his body through the water, and then disappears again. That is such a clever way to preserve the original story progression, right? Tommy also has much greater freedom of movement, because instead of only being able to jump as he did in the original game, he can now grab ledges, move sideways while hanging, pull himself onto walls, and climb directly over fences. Yep, we can do a little more parkour in Vice City now. One of my favorite details is the way the classic pickups were redesigned to feel more natural inside the newer engine. Instead of floating hearts, armor icons, and rotating weapons, we now find medical kits placed on the floor or attached to walls, while weapons lie on the ground or lean against nearby objects. The same idea was used for clothing, because the familiar rotating shirt was replaced by a glowing piece of fabric that Tommy can simply walk over to change his outfit. These are only small visual changes, but they preserve the purpose and familiar locations of the original pickups, while making them fit naturally into the more realistic world. I really like this detail. The higher limits of the GTA 4 engine allow the streets to feel noticeably busier, with more pedestrians, denser traffic, and occasional queues forming at intersections. The busier streets can also make certain activities more challenging, because dense traffic, unexpected lane changes, and vehicles blocking the road may complicate races, police chases, side missions, or even a simple escape through the city. Despite all of that added activity, the city still keeps the relaxed atmosphere of the original, allowing you to cruise along the beach, listen to the classic radio stations, and watch the sunset while everything around Tommy feels more active and alive. The driving model is another major reason why this version feels so different, because Grand Theft Auto 4 is still known for its detailed vehicle physics, with cars that have noticeable weight, responsive suspension, and a much stronger sense of impact during collisions. Although many players consider this handling slower and heavier than in later games, I was surprised by how it worked with the classic vehicles, and after only a few minutes, driving through the city no longer felt unusual at all. But what impressed me even more was how well the missions were recreated, because after playing through several different parts of the storyline, I rarely felt as though I was testing an unstable experiment rather than a complete game. The objectives, scripted events, enemy encounters, and cutscenes remain remarkably faithful to the original, even though the newer animations and physics naturally change how certain moments play out. Watching familiar scenes with different character movement and replaying classic missions inside a completely different engine creates a strange combination of nostalgia and curiosity, because you already know what is supposed to happen, but still want to see how every moment has been rebuilt. Combat naturally feels different because it uses the aiming system, weapon handling, and character animations from Grand Theft Auto 4, which gives every shootout a heavier and more modern feeling. Police chases are especially entertaining, as several patrol cars pushing through dense traffic can quickly create unpredictable crashes, gunfire, and complete chaos around Tommy. Whether you are using a small automatic weapon or firing rockets into the street, the action still feels unmistakably like Vice City, only now it is shaped by the physics and mechanics of the Rage engine. Of course, Next-Gen Edition is not perfect, because some mechanics can feel rough, the heavier handling will not appeal to everyone, and a fan-made project of this scale will naturally contain occasional bugs and technical problems. However, none of those imperfections changed my overall impression, because the amount of care and effort behind this conversion is visible throughout the entire game. Revolution Team managed to preserve the identity and nostalgia of the original while adapting its world to the physics, animations, lighting, and possibilities of a completely different engine. After completing the storyline and spending enough time exploring the city for myself, I can honestly say that this is much closer to the Vice City Remaster I always imagined than a simple graphical update could ever be. But now I want to know what you think. Is Next-Gen Edition closer to the Vice City Remaster we should have received? And what do you think about Tommy finally being able to swim? If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe for more GTA content, and I will see you in the next video, guys.